Hey guys, it's Billy Ray from the future of when this video was recorded. Just want to say a couple things here. One, I'm just going to do a shifter video on this one because after editing it, it's like 10 minutes long. So rather than having a half-hour video of that and the transmission getting taken out, I'll break it up into two. It'll come out like 2 or 3 days after this one. And I also just want to say thank you to the 24 subscribers I have and the 1,600 views and the 100 or so watch hours I have on these videos. You know, I never thought this would even get 2 subscribers and all that stuff. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And yeah, never thought this would kind of go anywhere, but you know, it's nothing special. I'm not Cleese McFarland. I'm not Tavares. I don't have millions of viewers and followers and all that stuff, but anyway, give you a quick little peek at what's to come. The engine is out, so that's good. Ooh, fancy engine, ooh, yeah. And there's my spec clutch. And there's the transmission that's gonna be coming out in the next video. And the shifter is out in the driveway, inside the car, as I rudely get interrupted by my neighbor's car alarm going off. So hopefully nobody's jacking a car out there. That'd be funny. Anywho, enjoy the content. So thanks for following along, and yeah, I'm gonna keep going with this. Take some time to edit videos and, you know, film the actual teardown and have a full-time job and pay a mortgage and eat dinner and go to bed, and you know, it's what I gotta do. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm gonna keep pumping videos out. Hey guys, welcome back to Billy Ray Garage. So today's video, we're taking the shifter out, and in order to do that, you got to take kind of all this out. It seems like a big deal, but it's not, because compared to actually taking the transmission out, that's the route I'm going in this video, and this is the route I'm going with the vehicle. I'm just going to take the transmission out, clean it up, change the fluids. That's down the road. In order to do that, you have to disconnect the shifter, and in order to disconnect the shifter, you have to take a couple things out. Basically, the number one tool you need is a little stubby Phillips head screwdriver, because there's some tight screws in there. Gotta get them out in order to get this panel off. This is specifically for the GTO. I don't know if you're doing a Camaro or a Firebird or any other car with a T56 in it. I'm not sure what you would have to do, but I would imagine that the transmission bolt pattern to the block itself is roughly the same. So let's dive into this. All right, first and foremost, to get this center console somewhat taken apart, there's a little tray down here that you gotta get out. All right, got the little tray out. And by removing that tray, so there is a little Phillips head screw right there where my finger is. It's not there now because I took it out when I was doing the cluster gauge. So next, open the center console, and you're just gonna pick up on this. There's just a couple clips basically holding it in, so it came up. And you're gonna have clips up to about here, and then this just covers a couple more screws. I don't know if I took them out yet or not, but yeah, you're gonna pick this up, kind of rock it back. There's probably another one right here. Yep. All right, so you're gonna pick this up and slide it back. Now, another thing to remember is there's some wires underneath. They're for the windows and the traction control. They're straightforward, just unplug them. Yeah, so got this guy here. It's down here. So that's unplugged. And same thing here. That's for the windows. Unplugged. And now this whole piece is out. So this is going to stay here because we don't need that where we're going. Now, as far as the rest of this goes, you don't have to disconnect it. So just as long as we get to this part, this little shifter leather thing just pulls up and you get to this portion of the vehicle. Now you're gonna have to disconnect a few things here. One, mainly you have the shifter. You just gotta get the bolts exposed. This is a B&M short shifter. I changed this a while ago, but this boot is torn to shit, so I'm gonna get a new one. The only way you can get that out is by going underneath the car. There's I don't know if you can see it down there, but there's 4 spots that just have studs that go through, a couple nuts. You'd have to do that from under the car. And also, the little wiring harness right here, you just got to boop that off. And I think that's it for the wiring harness. So, a while ago I had mice living under here. I believe the very first video that I did on the GTO series covered the mice that got into my center console and were living under it. So, if you want to go back, that explains the entire car from the origins of this vehicle, but it covers the mouse story. So that's probably why a bunch of these screws are out, because I knew I was going to do this stuff later. But if you wanted to do the rest of the center console coming out, you got all these screws here, here. Up top there's a couple. Actually, you'd pop this off and there's a couple more up top to get this out. And then there's one plug that controls everything in the HVAC system and the little hazard light. So you would loosen these screws, boop boop, the screws in the back that are underneath here. Maybe I can still pull this up. I never nailed it down. But there are 2 screws up there. They're supposed to be up there, but this thing is so shot to shit because I took it apart so many times. And there would be one there, and that's how I ran all that. And also that black thing right there, that little black rectangle, that's for the GPS for this. And I ran the rear view camera for this too, so that helps because this thing never had one, being 2004. As far as the portion up here goes, that's kind of it. So I'm gonna have to get underneath the vehicle and loosen these so I could pull this boot out. And I'm gonna disconnect the shifter knob itself right from here. You can see it, I put some insulation there to fill it in. So there's one, and then there's a second bolt down there. It looks like they're Allen heads. I put this in years ago. Does make a difference. So I'm going to take this off real quick, just get the shifter disconnected, leave it in neutral. If you're pulling the transmission, you have to do the drive shaft, and if the drive shaft is in gear, good luck spinning it. So leave it in neutral, and let's get to taking this apart. Alright, so to get the shifter knob off for this particular shifter is a 3/16 Allen. So I got that in. I'm going to break it free. So the goal of this is just to get the shifter off, get this boot off, and squirrel away in the corner for a while. And then eventually, once I get this taken care of, I'm going to go under the car, loosen up those 4 studs, get this whole rubber boot off. I'm going to get a new one. I found them on, I found one on Parts Geek, I think. So I should be able to get a new one of these, it appears. So I'll get back to you on that. So let me bust this loose, get this all disconnected, and we'll continue on with the video of removing the transmission. Alright guys, I got our shifter knob off right here on the ground. Make sure you put your screws back in just so you don't lose them or put them in a bag. Doing that enables us to get underneath the car, loosen these studs up, boop, 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 pull this boot out, and then we can access the actual shifter knob housing that's attached to the transmission. Now you can access all that from up here once you get this boot out of the way, so it's pretty easy. So let's get underneath the car. From what I remember with these studs, once you break them free, they're kind of hand tight and you can just spin them off. Alright guys, so you can see, so yeah, right there and right there we have 2 studs that we're trying to get to. There's 2 of them, and then further up, you can barely make it out, but there's a stud right there and there's one on the other side. Those are 13mm sockets, so we're going to break those loose. The front ones are kind of a pain in the dick. These side ones are easy to get to, so I'm going to try and just get a wrench in there, just break it free. Loosen it by hand. There's not a lot of room back there. The only other thing would be to drop the transmission a little bit. I'm just going to try and struggle and get those off so we can release that boot. And then we can go back inside the car and get the shifter taken apart. Alright guys, could not get my fingies up in there to disconnect that little boot, so I'm going to drop the transmission. So, got a jack underneath, and there are 4 bolts holding it up, and they are 16mm. So I'm going to use the impact gun, I'm going to drop it down, lower it a little bit just so I get to those 4 screws. And then I'm going to put it back together, like loosely. I'm not going to hammer it home, because the transmission is coming out, and I don't want to go too crazy, so I gotta cut that tie wrap that's right there, that's holding on a sensor. And other than that, that's what I gotta do. Alright guys, back inside the vehicle. I was able to get those little satanic things off. I gotta remove the clips real quick for the wiring harness. Okay, power of editing, I just removed those two clips, and this will come out and fall apart like it just did. Jesus Christ. Ugh, let's get this out. Okay, so some of you may be wondering, hey Billy Ray, why don't you just pull the rubber boot out? Well, you can't. So yeah, when you have it on like this, it sandwiches against the transmission. You cannot pull that out. The only thing I foresee being a problem, and maybe because of this little gash here, with the short shifter being that it moves the shifter up and back, even if I get a new boot, you'll probably get a little tear like this. But still, 20 years old, this thing is seen better days. So we're still getting a new one of these. And being that we're going to reuse this bracket, save these nuts, put them back on so you know where they are, and squirrel away somewhere safe. All of them are on. Alright guys, onto the shifter. So we got two 10mm little bolts that are holding this in. This one snapped, so be very careful with these things. So I got one in, and then I don't know what these little studs are, but I don't know if I moved them from these holes to there to keep it from breaking and flying out, because I've taken this thing out a couple times. So just back this out and see if we can lift this motherfucker out. Alright, got the one out. That's all we got. I'm just gonna stick that there, and hopefully we could just pick this thing up like I just did, which came out pretty easy. There's gonna be some tranny fluid on it, and yeah. Now this is something to figure out later, but there's two nuts there that are on these little studs. I wonder if I could pull those nuts up and bring them on top of here when I put this back together. I'm gonna figure that out while the transmission's out, and as of right now it's not out yet, but soon, very soon, we're working on that.